flag to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And as you can see, we have Mayor Coleman on Zoom tonight. So we will be asking for his verbal vote when we do all of the voting and calls to order. So if everyone can please sign in. Ms. Martinez?
All councilors present and a quorum has been declared.
Thank you. All right. The next thing that we will do is the agenda approval. Councilor Carson?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We're going to start voting.
Mayor Coleman, can I get your vote?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez? Okay. The next thing on our agenda, the next item on our agenda is citizen comment. We are very excited to hear your comments. So if you have not yet turned in a card to the city clerk, please do so. You will get 3 minutes to speak at the podium. If your time goes over 3 minutes, I will politely ask you to stop talking, just as Mayor Coleman does. I'm going to try to do it as nicely as he does. And so the first card I have this evening is Helen Sigmund.
Good evening. We come.
Helen, your microphone is not on.
How about, is this on now or not? Okay, okay. Yes, we come before you tonight on behalf of the Alamosa Veterans Memorial Park, Cindy Burvig and Brendan Family and myself. And we've reported to you several different times. Frank Muniz is kind of the inspiration behind our Veterans Memorial Park, because he was a VSO for the county for over 20 years, and he fought in Vietnam in the infamous Battle of La Drang. And we have come before you several times, and we appreciate all the support you've provided us in the past. So we wanted to give you a short update tonight on our fundraising and progress, and Cindy's just passed you out our updated financials. And our goal is to raise at least $130,000 by the beginning of next year, because we want to begin the cement construction on this project. Right now there's a sign out there, but we want to start really showing a presence. And we've had chain supply issues, inflation that's affected the bids, and now the cement work is going to be $121,000. So our county is planning to do the dirt work this fall on that, and they have also made a recent donation of $25,000. And we're asking the city if they would make a similar commitment to our project. It's really going to benefit all of us. As you know, that corner of Alamosa at Airport Road and 260 is a major entrance to our community. And right now it's a real eyesore. So this could be a real attractive memorial that will welcome visitors and really beautify that corner. And we also want to honor our veterans. We now have our 501(c)(3) status, and donations are all tax deductible. You can actually register with City Market and with Amazon Smiles if you look up Alamosa Veterans Memorial Park, and a portion of your purchases will go to our project. We're planning a Veterans Day 5K, 10K run for Veterans Day, November 12th. And it's going to start at the Ready Center. Andy Rice has been kind enough to help us with that. And we're really hoping to get a lot of publicity and interest from that. And we also have plans to do a fundraiser dinner around Memorial Day. We really have been motivated to get working on this. COVID's put us back, but we're ready to attack. So we hope that you will consider us in your budget. I know this is budget time, so please give generously. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. And we'll answer any questions or have comments from council after all of the citizen comment. Okay, Ruthie Brown.
Hi, Ruthie Brown. On August 17th, I was here at your work session and I spoke afterwards, and I said I didn't really care if you gave La Puente $10,000 if it put people to work. I've had time to reconsider that, and I don't like it. Not that it wouldn't help someone go to work, but I do work. I work every day. And to give, and I know it's grant money, and a lot of people think grant money is free. But let me tell you, it's not, because I work every day to pay the taxes that go to someone someplace for a tax write-off or tax credit. Grants are not free. And so when we give what I assume to be a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization $10,000, I guess I would like you to, I know, and you're going to vote on it anyway, and I know you're going to vote yes. I just know you do that. But I would like you to keep the public informed as to really how many people are working. And you can't give their names, as probably a HIPAA type violation, but tell us some of the businesses where they're working. So I can talk to a fellow business owner. Heck, maybe it's something I would want to be involved with. But meanwhile, I wish the city of Alamosa had spent as much time helping and working for the businesses on the south side who suffered greatly during the road construction as they do for the homeless, because we're not feeling it. I'm sure all of you have come down to see me since August 17th. I was gone for a little bit, but and then the food bank. I know we couldn't stop. I know you couldn't stop, but I guess I'm happy for Junior. I told him to take the money and run, but you know, I also know homeowners who cried and are getting ready, looking at selling their properties as the homeless shelter encroaches more on our neighborhood. Now, I'm not saying they won't do a great job. Only time will tell. I know you couldn't stop them, but wouldn't it have been nice for the city to talk to the people in the immediate neighborhood and tell them what was going on or what was going to happen? We've been a close-knit neighborhood. We've lost it. It's come down and talk to someone. I can take you around and introduce you to everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next, Bruce Rosengrant.
Good evening, Bruce Rosengrant, Vice President at Adams State University. Mr. Mayor, members of council and guests, not so much comments as gentle reminders. This Saturday, Adams State University will be hosting its first home football game at 6 o'clock. A gentle reminder to all here, and especially our uniformed personnel, there will be additional vehicular and foot traffic around campus, so just be aware of that. And also, one additional reminder, 1 month from today, we will start our homecoming activities in collaboration with the city of Alamosa. Always a great time for us. We'll replicate pretty much the agenda from last year, starting off with a parade, an all-day carnival on campus, as well as the football game. An added bonus this year just happened to be that First Friday also falls on that same weekend. So as much as we can contribute to the economic vitality of the city of Alamosa, we will do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. I want to check in with our Zoom attendee. If you have any comments for public comment. Holly, Ms. Martinez, can you let her know how to do that?
Yeah, if you're on the Zoom app and you want to speak for a citizen comment, you'll use the raise your hand feature in the bottom of your screen. Or if you're on a telephone, it'll be *9.
Thank you. I see no hands raised, so we will close citizen comment at this point and turn it over to the city manager if there's any follow-up comments.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. In regards to the request for funding from for the sculpture, you know, I think if the request was more similar to that we provided in 2019 of the 3,000, I think that's something that's easier to digest. I think 25,000 is to the level we would need to look at cutting some other items in our general fund. You guys have seen that budget. We've made a few modifications after tonight to try to stretch that outside funding as far as possible. That will impact the general fund as well. And you've seen the 10-year plan that 3 years from now, we won't be able to provide some of the pay increases we would normally want from an employee perspective. And so the sculpture is not going to bring all of that to the end, but I'm just saying 25,000 is a significant amount of funding that is not in the budget. If the request was for a smaller amount, I think it's more doable, especially knowing that it's not going to be an ongoing and maybe the last time. The other public comment from Ms. Brown, there's 2 points she made that I wanted to make sure and talk a little bit about. The first one is if we do provide funding to La Puente for the work readiness, I want to assure her and everyone that it will be transparent. So it will be a similar contract that we have with our outside funding entities to where they have to report how many they've helped. We can work with them to try to see if they can collect even more detailed as far as the place of employment and some stuff like that. I don't know what their capabilities are, but we can work to try to make it as transparent as possible. But that was the intent all along. And so we'll definitely have those conversations. In regards to the food bank, Ms. Brown is absolutely correct. This is not anything that the city played a role in. This is a private entity that negotiated with another private entity for the purchase of their property. Our role is to ensure they're meeting zoning and codes and those types of things. I wasn't sure. There was 2 different ways I could interpret her comment as far as city talking to the neighborhood. So I'll address both alternatives. So if she meant it that if the city knew that this negotiation was going on, that we could have reached out and talked to the neighborhood, that would actually be unethical. So if we're aware of a business that's in negotiation with another private business, and they've asked us, hey, does this meet code or what? We treat that extremely confidential because we are not involved in the private sector when there are negotiations going on. And there's other entities that work with us when they're looking at purchasing property, and we keep that confidential. So I'm not sure if that's what the question was about talking to the neighborhood. It was not our role to talk to the neighborhood with La Puente purchasing the Atencios market. The other way I could have interpreted her comments was, you know, has the city reached out, period, to have conversations with the neighborhoods? And I think this just gets lost, and I don't know why, but we did a lot of public outreach and meetings to figure out what is going on for that neighborhood related to the activities of La Puente. And there was a lot of very, very valuable information that remains still relevant. And Ms. Brown often echoes what a lot of those messages were, which is they don't feel heard. There's an impact on them and their lifestyle. They're not feeling safe. There's trash. There's sometimes needles. And so these things are still going on, but it's not something that we listened and then did nothing. The issue is we can't shut La Puente down. We can't always control people littering because unless you see it happening and those types of things. But what we have done is we've taken that information. I've used it to have conversations with the La Puente board as the city's representative. Council created the Homeless Coalition, which is making a lot of work onto what exists to help prevent and get people out of homelessness. We are also looking at trying to start conversations of can we move the soup kitchen to a different location that maybe is more appropriate. These conversations would not have been happening if it wasn't for those neighborhood meetings that we did the outreach on. And so I think it's important to understand that. The other things the city has done is if you look at our co-responder position that we've just added, while it's not focused 100% on our homeless individuals do represent us probably a certain percentage of the nuisance calls that we get, that just issuing another ticket or putting them in jail is not going to stop that cycle that they're in. And so that is part of what this co-responder is as well. And so there's, if you look at the creation of St. Benedict, as controversial as that was, the creation of it was because we kept hearing the concerns of loitering and not feeling comfortable on the trails and not feeling comfortable in the parks. So the creation of St. Benedict and then adding Wi-Fi and electricity to try to use a carrot to stop the loitering is everything that we have been trying to do that's under our control, under our power to get at the concerns that we've been hearing from the community. And so I'm not sure which way she meant talking to the neighborhood, but I wanted to address both ways.
Thank you, Heather. Counselor Griego?
Yes, I had a comment on the Veterans Memorial Park. I'm the representative of the city on that board. In fact, I took John Vigil's position. He initially started, and then because of his teaching, wasn't able to do it. But I know 25,000 is a lot of money. Is there something that maybe in kind or something that the city could do, to help out? I don't know. You mentioned that they're doing the 5K run and stuff. That's something that and I don't know to what measure they're using Andy, because Andy's got a full plate himself. So, but something like that where we do fundraisings and stuff like that, where the city could participate in some way, indirectly, so we could help them raise money and stuff. But I don't know, my question is there any way we could help in kind, I don't know if moving dirt or they're already moving dirt or stuff like that, but it's something that is going to attract. This is a gateway to our community as you're coming in, and that's going to be something that, that's going to bring some attraction. And even if you're going to the airport, this is something that's going to also attract a lot, give attraction. So if there was something that we could do and help out, and I know Heather said, something smaller would have probably been more manageable, but something that we could kind of balance out and stuff, and help out. So
Some immediate in kind is, clearly anytime if they're advertising from a fundraising, either fundraising event or just general fundraising, we can use our social media. We've got our utility bills. If they wanted to put something in the utility bill from an FYI perspective, I don't know about a fundraising perspective using utility bills, but we've got those resources. Probably the only other in kind that existed is the dirt moving, which the county's kind of signed up for already. I can't imagine any other type of in kind, but if they are doing a fun run or something like that, we can treat it like when we do those sponsorship requests that, we can waive the fee for the park or, things like that as well. But those are the things that come to my mind.
well, like I said, I appreciate Andy helping them out, because this is something that the city does all the time in these fun runs, and they're trying to do something similar, and it takes a lot to organize something like that, so. But whatever we could do to help these, this Memorial Park would be nice. So
Thank you, Counselor Griego. Counselor Carson?
I just wanted to address Ms. Brown's comments. Personally, I've had at least 50 conversations where people corner me and give me crap about all the, St. Benedict and all the stuff we've done. We have listened, and just keep in mind that 35 years when I came on council, it had taken to get to that level of that population, especially in that neighborhood. And Donna, who's not here with us anymore, Donna Wood, I had many conversations with her at the beginning when I first came on council, and including what Heather's talked about as far as moving the soup kitchen. St. Benedict's in itself, I drive that street every morning, 3 times a day sometimes. And I know that anybody that's paying attention has noticed a huge decrease in people sleeping on that street. Again, we can't control what people do, but we are listening and we are trying hard. And and things will happen. But again, it took 35, 40 years to get where it was such a detriment to our community to not be able to deal with things. And we've had to take hard steps to create rules and jump ahead of even cities like Denver who are dealing with it, and they're 10 years behind us. So I guess my main suggestion is if you have ideas to help us move forward with this situation and you know, that can contribute to the mission of us trying to help both populations and find a balance for our constituents and the people that are suffering from homelessness or near homelessness, please bring them to the table. But you know, we go through a lot, and I can't speak for everyone up here, but I know personally I've caught a lot of negative crap over this, and I fight for it constantly, and it's difficult to find a balance, but we do, and we are constantly rocking and rolling on that, whether it seems like it isn't, or, you know, whether it seems like it's moving or not, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background, and just the places we've got to right now with some of the forward momentum that we've created because of the decisions that this council's made. They're very positive. So just, you know, I get it it's frustrating, but if you got ideas, you know, bring them to the table, and I'm willing to listen. And I apologize that I haven't gone down to sit with you. I told you I would. You did the interview with the reporter, and I haven't gone to visit with you. So I apologize for that. But we're working on it. We're working very diligently. Heather's done a lot of work that nobody knows in the background, and it will be positive outcomes for the neighborhood. And in regards to attend shows, again, I'm on that street every night. I'll drive it tonight. And at Attend Shows Market right now, you have a lot of activity after 9 when they close. There's a lot of people around there, and I'm hoping that the food bank moving there will clean a lot of that up and keep people away during hours they're not supposed to be there, because there is a lot of people lingering there. So just, you know, maybe not something you want to hear, but bear with us and you know, bring ideas to the table, and I'll bring them here, and we'll push them forward if they can work. I promise you that for sure. But we are working on it, and we're working hard, and we do. I know if I'm catching those conversations, everybody else is up here. And so, you know, just try and, you know, empathize with us a little bit, because it is a rough fight. That's a very rough subject, and we deal with it every day. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Behill?
Thank you, Mayor. Is now the appropriate time to ask some questions or give my comments on the Veterans Memorial, or should I wait till council comment?
Normally, it's your prerogative. Eric, are you getting ready to, there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say council comment, I think, is a more appropriate time. This is staff and as council has moved, council response to comments that were made in citizen comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric and Heather. Okay, team, and I appreciate the grace, as this is my first time facilitating today, so I'm sure there will be mistakes. So thank you for that ahead of time. If we can move to consent calendar A, please.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
Second.
You all can start voting.
I vote yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I'm trying to get the stop going at the right time. I apologize. The next thing on the agenda are presentations from outside agencies. First is going to be a lead update, and so I would welcome that team. I also want to give a special recognition to our new DA, so thank you for being here.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? Good evening. So we're here for our regular update for the program. Just a couple things I just wanted to highlight is the fact that we are a finalist for the healthcare investment reinvestment program for us to receive a grant for us to purchase some vehicles. So that's been a huge need for us as a program. We've been stuck with one car. It's between 5 case managers. So managing that's been a little challenging. And the increased need for transportation is just always there. So we are in that process of trying to obtain that. So that's exciting.
We got to meet with our new DA yesterday. And so we're really excited to collaborate with her and have her partner with us in our program. Just a quick update about our staffing situation. So currently I have 3 staff positions open and available. So trying to hire and recruit some staff members. I will say for my staff that I currently have, they've been amazing. We haven't skipped a beat in serving the same amount of participants just because we lost case managers. So that consistency and carryover for our participants has been phenomenal. And so I owe that all to my case managers and kicking butt there. And so we are in the process of hiring. We have advertised for our position and we are in the process of adding. So we've added a component to our hiring. We hire doing a shadowing phase just because, again, trying to understand what the work is and what it entails. So we're actually in the process right now with a potential candidate who has been shadowing our case managers. And the other exciting part is he has lived experience. So the possibility of having somebody on our team with lived experience could work out, which I'm excited about the potential. I did on our last update, I mentioned the fact that with our referrals, we had 10 pregnant women that our case managers had worked really hard to get into treatment or some kind of permanent housing. So I just wanted to give a quick update about that. So with them, there's been 3 that have successfully transitioned out of treatment and are in transitional housing. The other exciting piece about it is that all of our women were able to either obtain the custody of their child again or never had to relinquish their rights and were able to keep them in custody while they were in treatment. So we have facilities up in Denver that were able to take them in either after they had them or while they were pregnant. And so Gail, I have to attribute a lot of that to her. She's amazing. Conejos County Sheriff's Department did reach out. They did re-engage and were able to go and train all of their staff, including GEL. So we've created a really strong partnership with the GEL. So we were able to also work with them when they're transitioning our participants from GEL back into the community. So Gail can go and meet with them, get them situated on appointments, arrange transportation if needed. So then that collaboration has been wonderful. And then I just wanted to put a plug in the fact that we are trying to work collaboratively with our partners to host a SIMS workshop. And so that's the sequential intercept mapping process in October. And so far we've had a pretty good response in people who are signing up for that. I just think as we've been doing this work collaboratively throughout the years with our partners, it just felt like something that we could benefit from as a community working with this population. So that will be coming up, and I'm going to hand it over actually to Chief to see if he has any comments.
Yeah, it'll be real quick. I don't have anything. You know, I'm just up here to support the team. But since our new DA is standing behind me, it'd be nice to hear her speak about the program and kind of some of her thoughts on this. Thanks.
Chief very kindly passed the mic over to me. Nice job, Chief. This is my 4th day as your district attorney, and I really appreciate everybody's support, and the community's been amazing. One of the things that I really valued about Boulder, Colorado, where I'm from, is the diversion program in Boulder, Colorado, which is exactly what LEAD does. Was very powerful. It was very strong. It was very effective. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was meet with that community partner early on so that we could establish that collaboration. So I really had a great discussion. You were there for an hour and a half telling me about all the things that they've accomplished and all the things that they would like us to collaborate with them on. I thought it was very important for us to meet with them early on so that we can start talking about the plans for diverting more cases out of the criminal justice system. Typically LEAD for the last, I think probably, about a year, has the LEAD program, the diversion program, has not been very active in the district attorney's office. But that is a great way to help individuals that come into our criminal justice system that needs the support of the community and not necessarily a criminal conviction. And so I feel very strongly about identifying those individuals and making that identification process very strong and very specific and very accurate, so that we're not diverting people that necessarily need that might need to be prosecuted, but that we are taking our time and making sure that we're helping the individuals that need assistance and not criminalization. I'm really excited about the partnership with LEAD. I think this is gonna be a real strong force for the community. So thank you for letting me speak, and I hope to meet all of you. I've been meeting a lot of people, so and thank you again for the welcome that I've received in this community.
Thank you.
Is there anything additional, Carrie or Clarissa? Okay.
The only thing I would add is, for the next quarterly update, we are going to start adding an update with the co-responder at the same time. But since this is just his second week, there's not much to report on just yet, but we'll combine the co-responder lead. So it's kind of an overall update on some of these alternative, tools.
Great, thank you. And then I will open it up to council comments. Councilor Vihil.
Thank you, Mayor. Just again, every time you come up here, I'll always say thank you. We had this idea three or four summers ago. We took it to Heather and Holly and they ran with it and it's blossomed into this awesome program. Thank you again. There's a very small group in our community who think this is a waste of money, who say there's no fruits to this labor. But a few pregnant moms are back with their children. So that's good enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Vihil. Mayor Coleman, do you have any comments?
Yep, I just want to make a brief comment. It's very pleasing to see Carrie, DA Kelly, and Chief Anderson collaborating together. Keep up the great work, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Carson.
Just want to say thank you guys for what you're doing. You guys keep continuing to move forward. There's been a couple struggles with money and you guys are getting past it. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Welcome to the new DA. And this may seem a little weird and I don't mean to put Heather on the spot, but is there not a way that the city may be able to help with a vehicle, something that's going out of service? I know that's a rough question, but I'm just putting that out there so that we can think about it. I don't know that we got any spare vehicles lying around, but if we do, maybe we think about helping them.
So that has been a standing offer, and I think at least one vehicle has, we've done that and paid for a paint job because we don't need it to
okay.
look like a cop car pulling
you,
up
I got
from
you.
a lead perspective. But they use those cars so much that, so it's a standing offer, but it may not fully meet their needs
Okay.
from a maintenance perspective. Am I capturing that correctly?
Yes, so they did offer 2 vehicles. We took 2 of them. One of them didn't last long. I mean, we do put a lot of miles on them, but our steady Cobalt, the one that they did donate in the beginning, it's been our loyal vehicle for this last 5 years. But and again, being able to have something that's accessible for some of our participants is really important. So, you know, being able to get in and out when they have special needs, it's important. So, but yes, Heather's definitely offered. She's very kind to keep us in mind when it comes up. So,
And we can, but it's a good reminder to keep, just as we're rolling some off, if we're not giving it to some of our other departments, we can see, they can come check it out, talk to Tim and see if they think it's going to meet their needs or not. So that's been kind of a standing offer.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Thank you, Heather. I just want to say thank you to you all. I'm very excited to hear about the work. And did you really say 5 years, Carrie?
yes, I know it's hard to believe, but
It's gone very quickly. And I just want to say welcome to the district attorney. We are very glad to have you, and your view on diversion, I think, really meets what the city is hoping for. And so thank you for those conversations that you're having and engaging with the community partners so early. I think it's going to be a really good partnership. And I've known the people at CRP for years and years and years now. Well, not too many years, but known them for a while, and we are so lucky to have them as partners. So thank you for all of the work that you all do. Thank you. Okay, next we are going to have an update from Trinidad State College. It is wonderful to see you again, so thank you for coming back.
Well, good evening, Mayor Coleman and members of council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Rhonda Epper, president of Trinidad State College, and I'm joined by James Kiner, who is our vice president for the Valley campus. It's been a couple of years since we've given you an update, and I'll be honest with you, it's been a really difficult couple of years. We have, like everyone else, suffered through the effects of the pandemic, having sustained about a 12% enrollment loss since 2019. And that unfortunately resulted in some program reductions and staff reductions last spring, which is, it's just hard on any organization and its employees. But we feel like we're in a stronger position now with enrollment turning out to be, it looks like flat this fall, which is what we had projected, and our budget being stabilized from the reductions of last spring. And we're also feeling hopeful and excited about some of the new programs and opportunities that are coming about on the Alamosa campus. And Jim is going to share these updates with you of what's happening on the Valley campus, but I wanted to briefly mention just two of them. One being a recent development. We received some funding through Senate Bill 226, which is a program that's called Care Forward Colorado. And it is funding for our short-term allied health programs. Trinidad State received $378,000 for this program, and we're going to be able to provide free tuition for 4 programs. That will be our nurse aide, our EMT, medical assisting, and dental assisting. And that's through 2026. So that's free tuition for any student who wants to participate in one of these programs. And it's also available to high school students. So we've already this fall started working with several high schools who are interested in offering these programs through concurrent enrollment. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then also the long-awaited expansion of our construction trades program through the Colorado Attorney General's office is expected to launch later this fall. Our agreement is very, very close to being signed. We think potentially next week or within the next couple of weeks. But the AG's office approved a statement for me to read to you this evening. So I'm going to read it for you. Okay. The Department of Law and Trinidad State College are excited to expand the COPPER, that's the name of the program, to include TSC's Valley campus located in Alamosa, bringing this workforce development and housing remediation opportunity to Alamosa and surrounding communities. TSC's Valley campus COPPER program is envisioned to be comparable in size and investment to the Trinidad campus program, with 5 homes renovated for resale back to the community and up to 90 students per year obtaining construction trades, education, and certification that will contribute to expanding on a valuable and needed skilled workforce in this part of the state. We're still in talks to finalize the agreement, but the goal is for TSC to hit the ground running for implementation this academic year, calendar year 2022. TSC's leadership in COPPER has been essential to its evolution and success, and TSC's ability to build this pilot program from the ground up to now working to expand to a second campus is exciting for the COPPER program. So I was hoping we would have signed on the dotted line before tonight's presentation, but hopefully within the next week or so. So I'm going to turn to Jim now to give you some more details on what's happening on the Valley campus. Did you want this? Okay.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. I can't believe it's been 2 years, and I'm actually going on my 3rd year coming up in November. So time has just flown. And as Dr. Epper pointed out, it's been a difficult and challenging year, or a couple of years, I should say. I happened to be at a EDC meeting, Economic Development Council meeting, a couple of weeks ago, and one of my colleagues there commented that she has never seen so much advertising as it relates to Trinidad State College in the newspaper, on the social media. And I took that as very, very positive sign that A, our advertising dollars are being well utilized, but B, that this is by design. And coming from the corporate world, as you see a downturn in enrollments or whatever it might be that you're measuring, we can't squander our advertising opportunities. So to the extent that Dr. Epper pointed out that we're at flat enrollments, I think is in great part to not only the hard work and efforts of our employees, but also the advertising that we put out, and certainly the response that we've gotten back from the community members who are still flocking to enroll in our late start classes. So I appreciate that. You may have read about drones and cones. You may have visited Drones and Cones, and that was a really spur of the moment partnership that rhymes very well, I might say, between the Boys and Girls Club, who were kind enough to open up their gym and supply ice cream. And we in exchange provided drones for the students to fly, but even more importantly, the next day for the parents and guardians to fly. And what did this yield? Well, it yielded great pictures, a lot of fun, but more importantly, 4 new students signed up for this program. So these kind of unique ventures, partnerships between such entities as the Boys and Girls Clubs, and who knows what the next partnership might be, are really starting to take traction now. And why hope is not a strategy, I'm very hopeful that as we move from flat this semester in enrollments, that we'll begin to see us moving into the positive side of that equation. I'd like to talk a few moments about people, programs, and then possibility and potential. So the 4 Ps. People, we're just coming off of Labor Day, and you might have seen in the Courier our advertisement speaking to the fact that Trinidad State College employs 111 people here at the Alamosa campus. And that's a combination of full-time classified employees, student workers, work studies, faculty, staff. And so when you think about the economic impact of 111 people here in this community, it's really hard. And I found it difficult to imagine that we had those many people working in that building in one capacity or another, again, serving the needs of our students and helping drive the tax base here in Alamosa and the county. We've added a new faculty in welding, a new faculty in cosmetology, which creates new capacity opportunities for those programs, which are high demand programs. We added a new advisor, which had been one of our bottlenecks in terms of how do we increase the throughput of students seeking enrollment. So that certainly is going to take the pressure off our existing staff there. Our interim financial aid director, who typically is housed at the Trinidad campus, happens to live in Alamosa. And that was always a question of whether this person from here could serve the needs of both campuses. And I'm pleased to report that output is exceeding input here. And so I think we'll have to redefine whether that particular position historically needs to reside in Trinidad if this person continues to do that stellar job. Not that I'm lobbying, but I may be lobbying here, Dr. Epper. In terms of programs, with grant monies through the White Foundation, we were able to repurpose our aquaculture program and retrofit it and make it a very modern dental assistant facility. Well, what did that mean? Well, there's a capacity of 12. We have 11 students in there. And this was a project that was done within a matter of weeks. And it's an absolutely beautiful facility. And if you ever have the opportunity, please come by and I'll be more than happy to give you a tour. I spoke about drones and cones. Dr. Epper spoke to the construction program, which we're very excited about. And those programs cater to our, and I put in quote, traditional students, the younger demographic, if you will. But where we see opportunity is with, and I put this in quote, the adult learner, whatever that might be. And certainly we are them, right? So we created what's called the Workforce Solutions. And this is a work in progress. It's being unveiled as we speak, but it creates an opportunity for businesses and Trinidad State College to partner with courses that we have to offer in which the employer can create the certificate that they determine best meets the needs of their particular operation, and more importantly, the needs of their employers or employees, I should say. So we call this Workforce Solutions. We see this as a great opportunity to begin to address the needs of repurposing employment opportunities that may become obsolete, and more importantly, upskilling employees who are seeking new career opportunities here in the Valley. So I encourage you to take a look at that brochure and And more importantly, if you know of a company or an organization that could benefit from this, we would love to work with that particular organization. And kudos to our foundation, who will basically pay half the tuition for those employees who come through this program if they're sponsored by an organization or a company that you recommend. So again, we see this as a great opportunity to address the needs of adult learners for those upskilling needs. In terms of possibility and potential, again, emerging partnerships such as the Boys and Girls Club, and I could go on and on. We've spoken about Care Forward and the short-term certificates in healthcare. Again, in-demand occupations, again, our nursing program #3 in the state. So we will create a pleasant problem in having a lot of students wanting to come to us just because of our reputation. We're anxiously awaiting whether we'll have approval of our capital expansion plan, which is to really build out a more student-friendly environment at capacity, repurpose the building and so forth. But in the meantime, we've created stopgap measures that enhance flow. Traditionally, we had student advising hidden away upstairs. We moved them downstairs. So the first entity that you come into contact with is the student advisors, financial aid. And while these seem like very simple processes that may or may not work, again, our enrollments are flat now, coming up from a 12, 15, 20% deficit. So everything that we're looking at in terms of advertising, offering new programs and process improvement, we can tangibly say that it's working. So we thank you as community members for sending your sons and your daughters and yourselves to become students at Trinidad State College. And we look forward to serving your needs even further as we move into what I hope and am confident is a very, very exciting 2023 school year. So thank you very much.
My goodness, thank you for sharing that. Council, are there any comments you'd like to share? Councilor Carson.
I just want to thank you guys for presenting. Yeah, it doesn't seem like 2 years. I remember you and I chatting. It seems like yesterday, but the pandemic is a big block of missed time for us. But thank you guys. Thank you guys for this program. This is great. I really was hoping you guys would do something like this soon. I talked to employers a few years ago that were really looking for something like this. I think we chatted at Boyd one night, didn't we, you and I? Or was it someone else about this type of a program? Yeah, and I just want to tell you guys thank you, especially for the CIS stuff too. We lack that a lot in the Valley, especially. I don't know what it looks like in Trinidad, but guys are doing great work, and I am an alumni of Trinidad State, and so I really like what you guys are doing, and I support you guys in any effort. So thank you very much for what you guys are doing, and congratulations on the flat enrollment, because that is it's big, especially from 12%. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Mayor Coleman, did you want to add anything?
I just want to make a brief comment. Dr. Epper and Jim, thank you for sharing that information. I believe you're headed in the right direction by investing in the advertising and also making sure that you continue to have those activities like the drone and cones. And I love your 4P strategy, which is people, programs, possibility, and potential. So keep up the great work. And I believe you're going to overcome that deficit within the next year if you keep all of this up.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to say I was fortunate to be in a meeting today with leadership from healthcare policy and financing, and they brought up the programs where people could attend for free to get the employees we need in healthcare. And so I wanted to say thank you for making sure that that comes to the Valley campus as well, and that we can partner with you in that way. So that is very exciting, and all of the changes sound like they are wonderful for your students. So nice work. Thank you.
And council, since no one has said it, but it's always on our thought is based on our housing plan and the needs that we have and the rehabilitation needs and all of that. And it's been a lot of work and talk with AG's office and making sure everything's just right. And so I just really want to thank you for that, because not only does it help us from a trades perspective, which I know we have a deficit or a need here in the Valley for that, but also just for our housing needs as well. I think it's not going to solve all of it, but every little piece is so much appreciated.
Yep, thank you so much. So next on our agenda, we have the annual update from the Main Street Advisory Committee. And before they start speaking, come on up. I just want to acknowledge Commissioner Lasky being in the audience. Thank you for joining us, and past Commissioner Sigmund for being here. So thank you.
I bet Ruthie, you wouldn't get to me till 8:15, so I blame you. Okay. So thanks for the invitation and for the opportunity to present an update. It's my pleasure to report on behalf of what is arguably the sexiest advisory committee the city has. Everybody wants to be on it. So Liz managed to get tapped for it, so she wins. It was a pretty good year for the advisory committee. We hashed through a number of things, some not controversial, some more controversial. And, you know, one of the things I enjoy about that group is that although there is common disagreement, it's pretty respectful, and we can count on the city staff to come back with, you know, a pretty good read on the room and what our ideas and thoughts are that need to be forwarded. So, you know, it feels like time well spent. It doesn't feel like another one of these committees that you sort of get sucked into. So, although that totally happened, it doesn't feel like that way. Main Street, from my perspective, the committee is functioning well. The Main Street itself, like the very flat black thing that's between the buildings, also seems to be functioning pretty well. I know that there were a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and gnashing of teeth and some other things that went into that, but particularly with the surfacing job, getting rid of the reflection problem, that's been a great help. There is, at my last count, only one open slot. The little boutique that's next to Weiss Dry Cleaners is gone. But last time I was in the game, there was actually competition for storefronts. So I don't think it's going to be empty for long. I don't know. Kathy would know. I don't know. She goes and talks to those people. But I think that's going to be just fine. Purple Pig got a new sign. Del Mar Carpet One bought the Penny's building and actually painted the front of it here last week. It looks pretty good. We're really excited to have them. So between the appliance store and Del Mar's flooring and countertops and cabinets and Mattress Mary, you can kind of do the whole thing downtown without having to go to the strip like a loser. You could go downtown, just better. Next stuff coming up. Oh, and of course, Friars Fork, great addition. You know, there's a new boot shop, the dress shop move. There's all kinds of stuff happening down there. And of course, the First Fridays is an enormous part of the energy that has been injected into Main Street. I took a picture just shooting down past the Grove, and it was full. It was like going to a street fair. And, you know, having Ephraim dance in front of your store once a month is kind of fun to watch too. But yeah. So all that's positive. You know, it doesn't come without expense or work or conflict, but it seems to be going the right direction. Hunt. Big victories on Hunt, courtesy of the city staff and the funding for that, for the cultural trail. And also it seems that the ball is moving on the parking lot behind Penny's as well. So I don't know. There's not a lot to complain about. If you give me some ideas, I could help. But I mean, in general, nothing goes as fast as you want it to, but it all seems to be going the right direction from the committee's perspective in general. That's it. Questions?
Councilor Behill.
Thank you. Matt, have y'all talked about alleyways and cleaning those up or dressing them up, stuff like that?
Yeah, that's actually part of the plan that the city put together over, you know, a tremendous amount of time with a tremendous amount of input. That is a more expensive undertaking. The committee has talked about some low-hanging fruit that would help with some less expensive improvements to the alleyway. So, for example, dumpster corrals. Not expensive, not complicated. They do take some time, but you know, kind of getting our dumpsters together and out of the alleyway itself would be a little more efficient for the sanitation crews. It would smell a little better because it would kind of pull all of it, everything into one spot and maybe give it some wind protection. It would be less of an attractive nuisance for people that like to go shopping there, although the locks and the chains that have been deployed on a bunch of the dumpsters have helped with that significantly.
Matt, if I can just jump in.
Sure.
Because you said it really quickly, but I'm not sure council was made aware of it. One of the first things the committee brought up was the dumpster diving. And I think
Right.
the committee came up with, why don't we just put locks on it? So
Right.
working with staff, a lot of the dumpsters have locks on it, which is really, to that degree, from that perspective, clean that up. But Matt is correct that the alleys are expensive with regards to undergrounding the utilities and or repaving them. I do know part of the grants that Rachel's been applying for the murals is to try to also start a little bit on the alleyways as well. And so when we do the 4th Street parking lot, that will help that alley, that section of the alley. But we're trying to take every opportunity when we're working with Friday Health on their new building. We're trying to see if there's ways we can get an improvement to that alleyway and those types of things. But Matt is correct that it is expensive.
So the committee and the city, in arm on that are trying to tackle things that are achievable in the short term without, taking any pressure off of the longer term, big, hairy, audacious projects, not swapping one for the other, trying to get them both done.
Thank you, Matt. Counselor Hensley?
So it's great to be part of a sexy committee.
It's a very sexy committee.
It is a very positive group. Even when there's challenges, things like that, everybody comes in with how do we work together to solve this? And so on those Tuesday, it's a Tuesday at 8 a.m. And but at the same time, it is super productive and it is a great group to be part of. And I do think the open communication, having this committee, the development of this committee has really been a positive thing, I think, for the downtown. And we have those members, and what they can do too is talk to others. And so when they come, they don't just bring it from their perspective, but also from others around. And then with what Kathy and Rachel do, it's pretty darn exciting to be part of.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Any other comments, council? Mayor, do you have any comments?
I just appreciate Matt filling us in, and also I appreciate Counselor Hensley for her participation on that committee as well. Thank you all so very much for keeping us updated on what's going on downtown. I'm glad, Matt, that you don't have any complaints. That's a good thing. Keep up. the
Not
great
really.
work.
Nothing for the record.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And for making your update fun. We appreciate that too.
I don't like
So
boring updates.
I appreciate that. Okay, council. Next, we are going to move on to business brought forward by city staff. 1A is from City Manager Legal, Resolution number 14, 2022, amending the composition of the City of Alamosa Standing Committee on Homelessness. So, oh, sorry, Counselor Carson.
I just wanted to make a comment. I'm a little sad. I thought Counselor Hensley was already part of a sexy committee. You know what I mean?
Not okay. Not okay, Counselor Carson. Ms. Brooks.
Okay, thank you. So this is, it's officially called the City of Alamosa Standing Committee on Homelessness. We call it the Homeless Coalition. There has been some different conferences where I know myself and Counselor Daniel and I have attended at CML related to some best practices from addressing homelessness. There's been some major paradigm shifts from a provider perspective. We've also had access to different articles and things like that. And one of the bigger issues is needing to focus more on housing. And so, yes, mental health can play a role. Yes, substance use disorders can play a role, but trying to tackle mental health and substance use when they're still out on the streets is almost impossible versus when you look at housing perspective. And a lot of the major communities that are looking at this and they have something similar to the Housing Coalition have a focus of housing on there to build that relationship with the providers, to know how to better navigate those systems and that type of stuff. So based on that, staff is recommending and the Homeless Coalition has approved this and is in agreement that we restructure it a little bit. Right now, there's just one position that represents housing. Dawn Melgaris interviewed, she's been appointed. The recommendation is to create a position that would be dedicated to a representative from SLV Housing Authority or SLV Housing Coalition. Our assumption is Dawn would probably shift over to that. Also to create a standing position for the Alamosa Housing Authority, and we have not talked to them to see if it would be their manager or director or a board member. And then a third position that would be a general, and this would be one that council would interview for, either a landlord, property manager, or that type of thing. Because one of the sessions we went to, there was a lot of time spent of, there are valid concerns that landlords may have. And so even though we might be able to get vouchers and get individuals into housing, if landlords and property managers aren't willing to rent, then we're not getting anywhere. And so are there ways we can help alleviate the risk that they're in? But we need to start building those relationships and make sure that we have that voice at the table as well. So that is the recommendation before council, is to add a little bit more from a housing perspective. And that's what's before you.
Thank you, Heather. We did briefly talk about this at the Housing Coalition or at the Alamosa Housing Authority because we talked about it. They were really excited about this and do believe that it will be their director, but that has not been decided. So council, I see that there is discussion. Councilor Hensley, then Councilor Behill.
So honestly, I wasn't going to discuss, so I was just going to move that we go ahead and accept resolution number 14-2022, a resolution amending the composition of the City of Alamosa Standing Committee on Homelessness.
Second.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if you all can vote.
I vote yes.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman.
You're welcome.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I'm sorry. Okay, well, thank you, council. That was an easy conversation, and we will be having those communication with the Housing Authority and the Housing Coalition. The next issue is a motion authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with La Puente for the provision of crisis employment navigation. So I will turn this over to Ms. Brooks as well.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As indicated earlier tonight, council did hold a work session on August 17th to review this item, so I'll keep it somewhat short. But just for those in the public who didn't attend the work session and may not be up on all these conversations, I'll do a bit of a coverage. For about a few years, council has been interested in taking a look at a work program for homeless individuals. When this was first brought up, I think the idea is when you look at some of these like San Antonio size communities, like very, very large communities. They had stories where the mayor would go and his program, they would pick up some homeless individuals and they'd pick up trash for the day type of thing. There's a lot of concerns that I had as a city manager related to that type of program, mostly from a risk management perspective. Anytime we have a position that involves labor, we do pre-employment testing. We make sure that they can safely perform the physical duties of the job. And that obviously doesn't work well for driving and getting individuals that day to do work. We did do some research. There's a pretty solid program in Denver. It is a separate entity. It is not run through the city or the county. It's a nonprofit, but it is a work program that really works on the kind of a little bit more of the latter. And so some of it is that they might come in for that day and go paint at the library, or I think at the city library, they were replacing light bulbs. And so sometimes they show up one day and they may not show up the next day type of situation. That type of entry level on the ladder is to try to get individuals who have been out of the workforce for a long period of time back in the habit of showing up and doing work and those types of things. But then they try to ladder them into then maybe more regular employment type situation. But we were talking probably several hundred thousands of dollars type of situation. So when I was looking with council direction of what could we do here locally without frankly any resources until ARPA came along, what could we do to try to help get our homeless individuals into employment? And so they had a lot of meetings with the state and their programs that they have, as well as La Puente, and realized that they have a work readiness program, and we're seeing some results with that. And for me, knowing how our LEAD program works, it seems very similar to LEAD in that there is this assistance to, do they have the soft skills? Can they get help putting the resume together? Do they have the clothing? Do they have the documents in order to apply for jobs? All of those different things that can go into even getting the employment, but then keeping the employment. And so that is a lot of what this program does. They did a great job of presenting that. I don't want to go into too much detail, but council did set aside $10,000 per year up until 2026 of the ARPA funds to put towards some sort of work readiness program. For that amount of money, I feel like adding to the capacity of an existing program that is showing some results is probably the best way to spend that. And as the issue was raised earlier, this would be a contract similar to the other contracts we have from an outside funding perspective. There's going to be deliverables. There will be a need to report on where the money went, how many clients were served. I will work with them to see kind of what level of detail that will include, and we'll get as much as the capacity allows. And with that, I'm open to any questions. And I do know that Brett is here as well if you have questions about specifically their work readiness program.
Thank you, Heather. Council, do we have any questions? Councilor Krebs.
My question is more around the contract. You mentioned 10,000 a year for a 6-year period. Is that, and please correct me if I'm wrong on that. Is that something that is renewed annually after looking at said deliverables, or is that something that we would be locked into for the 6 years?
So it's just until 2026.
That's
So
it. Thank you.
yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
it's just until 2026. It renews automatically, but if for some reason we felt we were not seeing the deliverables that we wanted to see, either entity could look at not renewing it.
Thank you.
Councilor Carson.
I was going to make a motion, but before I do, I just want to say thank you to Heather and to staff and to La Puente staff for putting this together and for believing in it. Because, you know, we talked about this again several years ago, and we're ahead of the game. Whether people believe it or understand it or they don't see it, this is still moving us forward. And it is a huge thing. You know, a lot of these people, the simple thing like the not having an ID or the documentation to get a job. I know 10 people right now that are in that position. So I think it's a great thing. And if people have no other comments up on the dais.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilor Carson. Councilor Griego has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a good program, you know, anytime we can help people that have gone through a struggle that don't want to be there. You know, it's something that if we can help them get a job and maybe from there they attach onto somewhere, you know, all those people at St. Benedict's, nobody wants to be there, especially now we're coming into winter. That's a hardship. You go out there and visit with some of those people and they, you know, it was pointed out that 80% of those people are there from here, you know, from the valley. You know, it's not like we brought them in from anywhere else, but anytime we can help people at a disadvantage, I think this is a good program, and I wish we could even give more, you know, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Any other comments, council? All right, Councilor Carson, if you would like to do that again.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with La Puente for the provisions of crisis employment navigation.
Second.
Team, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Oops. You can start voting.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Okay. All right, the next thing on the agenda are committee reports. Does anyone have a committee report to share? Councilor Carson.
So at the COG, we are moving forward with the 1041 conversations. I just wanted to update council. We've submitted an RFP to 3 law firms, I think right now, or we put it out there. We've had a response from 3 to submit a request for proposal to basically sit down with lawyers and staff from the counties and municipalities to work through a 1041 permitting process, and that is moving forward. We're expecting a presentation from those law firms at the next meeting. I think it's the 18th. I'm not sure the date. But that is moving forward. It is a good conversation that we're having. And so I just wanted to update the council that the COG is doing that. It's a huge thing for our community. You know, we've had a lot of calls for our water from the north. I know for a fact that it'll come from the south soon. We have several entities down south that attended our compact commission meetings, and we'll probably start making calls for the water rights they have legally. So this is a good effort. So anything we can do to support it, and I'll be in touch more with Eric as that moves forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. For clarification, can you define a 1041 permit?
Okay, so a 1041 regulation it was developed. It's been about 3 decades that they started using them heavily, but basically what it does is it gives municipalities and counties state level authority to control or to contribute to issues that may affect that municipality or that county directly. So it's a process in where I always attribute it similar to HIPAA. You create the rules and then you live by them, and that's what we're moving forward with. So the COG is working on creating a template 1041 that we can then tweak for each individual county and municipality, with the aquifer as a binding, as the binding thing that we would all write an MOU around and try to create kind of a symbiosis for future entities that come trying to move water out of the valley, out of the basin. So I think it's a needed, and this last journey with RWR, which again, RWR isn't going anywhere, they're still around, has brought that need to the front burner again. And so I think it's a very worthwhile effort, and hopefully we can get something good out of it.
Great. Thank you for the clarification, Councilor Carson. Any other committee updates, team? Okay. I did attend the Housing Authority meeting. They have transitioned maintenance department leads at the Housing Authority. And so their previous person has left, and they have appointed another person who's been there many years. So I do think that he is going to do a great job. And as I mentioned earlier, they are excited about having a voice on the homelessness coalition. I think that will be really good for them. And so lots of, they're continuing to do the work that they do, and really appreciate having Rachel on the committee. She always brings great information and really shares with them the things that the city is doing and helps them problem solve as well. So thank you for that, Rachel. Okay, any other committee reports? All right, so we will move on to staff announcements. Heather.
Thank you. Holly, if you want to get one of the visuals, I think Harry emailed to share about Victoria Street. I'll cover a few items as Harry comes up. We were successful in receiving an El Pomar grant that will allow us to put up more security cameras at the St. Benedict campsite, so it will cover the entire area. We have gotten concerns from some of the residents out there, as well as our own police force, of not being able to see the entire area. And then looking at increasing the Wi-Fi. Harry has also been out there to check on the lights, because we were hearing some of them might be out. So we will be getting those replaced, as well as placing some more lights on some of the items. We have been successful in negotiating to purchase the Walsh. That will allow us to apply for a brownfields grant to move forward with demolition. And so I wanted to share with council that we were able to get that done, and that will continue to move forward. You've already met DA Kelly, so I was just going to share that we've got a new DA, but she has already presented herself here tonight on that. In regards to the Monterey, because that is another area where we were looking at some enforcement, staff met with the property owner, and they are going to submit a very tight construction schedule by the 19th of this month, which we will record with the property, similar with the Walsh, to where if it's not met, then we would move forward with demolition of the Monterey. So that is progressing. I wanted to also just do a reminder that we have the Board Appreciation Dinner this coming Monday that I know Holly's office has been working very hard on. It is 6 p.m. out at the golf course. And then the last announcement I had is we do have a new restaurant that is open, but it is out by where Maurice's is, kind of that strip mall by Walmart, the Sun and Moon. So they had a few issues to work through with the state inspectors, and I think they had to build a new bathroom, but they are now open. And so if anyone wants to check that out. And Harry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Heather. So it's been a few months since we kind of talked about some of the updates on the construction project. So thought I'd run through a few of them that we're working on or wrapping up here at the end of the summer. Since Holly brought up the pictures for this Victoria Stormwater Basin. If you'll recall, a few years ago, the city purchased this property as a vacant piece of land next to the church there with the intentions of using it to temporarily hold stormwater that builds up on Victoria and Thomas and Oliver, kind of that whole collections area. So RMS is wrapping it up actually this week, with the exception of a security fence that's going to go around it. All this needed to be built and in place prior to the road work taking place next year. So we wanted to get this in place before we rebuilt the road, so the stormwater would have a place to go. So the intention of this basin is just to hold the water for up to 2 days, really, is what we're looking at, as the rest of the city drains out down Sunset in that area. Gives it a time to kind of hold it as everything else drains, and then this will drain out. It won't be one that we expect to hold water.
And I just want to use this as an educational opportunity for everyone that these stormwater projects can be very, very expensive. And I think this one exceeds $1 million in order to address the stormwater issues. And that's every city, when they built, they didn't always have the right stormwater in place. And then so then you're going back into a built environment to have to then fix the system to carry the capacity. And so it can be expensive, and you have to get creative on how to address some of this in a built environment. And so this was an over $1 million project. Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, thank you. Our next project would be State Avenue. It's kind of been the one that's been going on. It's the biggest road construction we've ever tried to tackle in a single season. It's hard to believe we're on month 7. So we started in March, and we're hoping to complete it by the end of the month. So right now the road's completed from 6th all the way through mid block of the 11th Street. And if the weather holds, ACI will be back in 2 weeks, excuse me, to do the last little bit. As we're wrapping up the curb and gutter now, it'll be ready for ACI the week of the 19th. So we should be able to open it up towards the end of the week, weather permitting, but hopefully the last week of September if all else fails. So now that State Avenue is completed, our last project for the year is 12th Street overlay. That we needed to do State Avenue prior, so all the heavy truck traffic wouldn't be going down State Avenue or 12th Street after we just overlaid it. That overlay is from Ross Avenue all the way to the old airport road. So basically the recycling center gates. So that'll take probably about a week, maybe a week and a half. There's a lot of infill to even out the lower mat before we overlay it. So it's a big project. It's a big connecting route that will be excited to get that fixed up. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else, Heather?
No, that will be it.
Thank you for all of those updates. We really appreciate them. The next thing that we are going to look at is consent calendar B.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar B.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All right, then if you all, can start voting.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over for council comment. Councilor Behill.
Thank you, Mayor. So my comments and questions are on the Veterans Memorial project. Is looking at the budget here. Are you asking the city for a one-time of 25, or would you want to come back for more in the future? Yeah.
For the next few years. If we ask for 25,000, we go back to like five or something like that, we would graciously accept it because we are grateful and completely respect for fiscal responsibility. That's so important to us. And we live and work in Stockton, Alamosa City. We appreciate that very much. And like I said, we're gonna ask big, and then we're gonna be grateful.
Thank you for that information. So I know that we're in the throes of our budget and you all have looked at the review process and all that stuff. I'm wondering if maybe we can build something into our budget for next year, maybe not the full 25, but something to help this project move forward. That's what I'm asking council to consider. Maybe city staff, you can chew on that for next year's budget.
So, that was part of the question Eric was tickling me about earlier. So if you guys, you can't vote on this tonight clearly, but if seems to be a consensus, what we can do is we have the art line item and we can increase that by an amount that you feel is appropriate. What I will tell you is if you start getting high, we will need to make cuts somewhere else. And I can use, my prerogative on where we make that and report that to you at your first reading, or if you can keep it small, then we don't have to look at making a cut. But that's where I would increase the budget if you wanted to look at something in the 2023. So, but if it's direction for the 2023 budget, you don't have to vote on it. I can just include that and take that direction type of thing.
I appreciate that, Heather. Thank you.
So I saw Counselor Carson during that. Do you have a similar comment, Counselor?
No, I got somebody to look.
Do you have a comment to go with that, Counselor?
I have a question. So you may not be able to answer this, but once this is built, what would be the need for a yearly budgeted ask? I'm just curious, what is the yearly, what are you guys gonna do there after it's built? What's that mean? Okay, so for maintenance of the trails and the memorial itself.
So I just want to share. So I was interpreting Counselor Vihil's of trying to gauge more of how many times are they going to come to us for an ask kind of perspective versus being an ongoing type of partner.
Oh, and I was just curious as to why.
Oh, okay.
Why it was like, okay, well, you guys would want to donate money every year. I'm not saying, would I think it's a great.
And I guess I would want clarification from council. So when I said we could put something like 3,000 in the budget, I was going to be doing it as a one-time, not an ongoing, but you would need to provide clarification, I guess, since that seems to be a question.
Council, would the consensus be a one-time increase to the art line item budget, thumbs up or ongoing?
I would just say
One
this
time.
is not a project staff has been involved in at all, and I don't have a good feel for where it's heading, what the cost might be, where there's other funding availability. Like making something ongoing makes me very, very nervous at this juncture.
And I agree with the city manager. The one-time thing is awesome. And I would just say this as my suggestion. I'm not opposed to considering that every year, but I think it would be just part of our other process. If they wanted to submit a request for funding every year, I would consider it every year. I think it's a worthwhile cause, and binding the council and the city to it. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I do like the $3,000 art bump up, but I don't think it's going to hurt you guys to ask for money every year either. We have several entities that do, and if you get in on that ask and and there's a really good reason for funding that year, I don't see why we wouldn't consider it. So that's just my advice on that.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. So is the consensus team for them to come back with a one-time $3,000? If you can find that in the budget, Heather, I think the next proposal would be helpful with that.
Okay.
Thank you. Counselor Griego, then Counselor Krebs.
I had a couple problems, but a comment on what you just discussed, you know. This is a multi-phase project, you know, that what they're trying to do is accomplish it. And I appreciate Heather pointing out, because it is a sculpture. It falls within that realm of the arts and stuff. The bottom line, it falls more as a dedication to the people that have given their lives so that we could be here debating each other and on how we spend the people's money and stuff. But it's a good project. So I appreciate the comments. I had a couple, I want to thank the mayor and Councilor Vigil here about a couple Saturdays. We had a proclamation for immigration resources 20-year. And they were really appreciative. There was over 300 people there. And they're appreciating the fact that the city recognizes that people out there are just trying to better their lives, you know. And we're all immigrants in a sense, but these people are just, you know, but the work that they do, it's incredible. So I want to thank both those guys. Thank you, Mayor and Mr. Vigil. Tomorrow, I guess we're meeting at the Rose, what's that called? The counselors,
Counselor Connections.
yeah, Council Connection. I want to invite everybody, the chief and myself will be there to answer questions, what we can answer and not bring back comments and have you guys help us answer it. So it's tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the roast. So we'd like to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Griego. Counselor Krebs.
Thank you. Let me start by saying this is amazing. I wholeheartedly support it on so many personal levels. I think it's wonderful that this community is coming together, as evident by your very detailed. I wish other nonprofits would able to show this. But just the way to honor the veterans here in the Valley and in the community in this special way, I think is a wonderful idea. I do agree with the one time versus the year to year, but something that was mentioned briefly before by Heather. Also look for opportunities within the city. We do offer sponsorships for fundraisers, and I'm sure that we would be able to step up and help out in small ways. Even if our budget is as tight as it is, there's people that are more than willing to help out. It's just finding those avenues of which we can step up and do so. Absolutely. My only other comment is I'm fairly new. I'm very new to this. But to hear all the positivity coming from the lead updates and Trinidad State and the Main Street Advisory Committee, it's so nice to see the umbrella of all the positive forward motion that the city is attempting to do. So, and I'm just very happy to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Krebs. Mayor Coleman, do you have any comments?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Daniel for a great job. I got to give you a round of applause for running the meeting in my absence. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Jim and Holly and the IT team for making this possible as well. Councilor Griego, I want to thank you for stepping in for me for tomorrow and the council connection. I appreciate that, my friend. Hopefully a lot of people show up and drink coffee with you tomorrow. And I would like to thank everyone who participated in the early on event. That was a real huge success this past weekend. Community partners, stakeholders, all the participants and visitors who came out. You made that a really successful event. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. Counselor Carson.
This is a question of Heather. She won't, probably won't like it. But, and I guess of the committee too, for the Veterans Memorial. I see the line items in the budget. I don't know where you're at as far as, physical, moving forward with stuff, but I would suggest maybe also asking for in-kind stuff. I don't know if we can do anything, Heather. When the project is moving, I mean, whether that be pavement or landscaping or whatever that is, I would suggest that you guys ask for that, because I think us being able to swing that might be more possible. I'm not trying to speak out of turn, but I would suggest asking for that as well, because I think some of that in-kind stuff might be doable. I don't know where you guys are at in those phases, but it's just an idea.
So just to clarify, so like the in-kind is when you don't have to purchase materials. So like the county doing the dirt work, they've got the equipment already. It's a matter of they're dedicating manpower to it. So anything where we're having to purchase paving, like concrete or landscaping, then that's not in kind.
And I
That's,
was meaning more from a labor standpoint.
yes.
hardware,
So yes, if there
equipment.
is, so I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. So yes, I think Counselor Grego brought that up too. If there's any way we can help from an in-kind perspective, we definitely stand here as a partner. So yes.
Thank you. Counselor Vihil.
Sorry, I forgot to mention this, Mayor, is 3 weeks ago, my daughter was born. And I wanted to thank everybody on the city team and council for your well wishes and for helping me get onto the different meetings and the evaluation night and all that stuff. So I appreciate all that. And I want to publicly thank the hospital here in Alamosa because my wife went into some pretty serious emergency stuff 2 weeks ago when we got back. And the hospital sometimes gets crushed by people in the public, but they really came through and saved my wife's life 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Vihil. And I just want to say thank you to the city staff and team. As the mayor said, the early iron event was wonderful. So thank you, everyone who participated in that. I hope everybody enjoyed their Labor Day and got to rest some. As always, I'm always impressed with our staff, the information that comes in our work sessions, the way that you ensure that we have what we need, the way you work together with our community partners. Just thank you. And so if there is no other business, I think I will ring the gavel to end the meeting.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.